later, so I'm certainly going to do that.
Okay.
Also, I want you to be aware that we are focusing this morning on the point of sale and closing the drawer. And also, I had sent an email this morning regarding the changing of the schedule, the alternate schedule that is creating that error that you're getting.
I just saw it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I do have them working on that, and so hopefully we'll get that resolved very, very quickly. But yeah, the issue there, as I said in the email, is that the regional settings are using a hyphen rather than a slash, and that's creating the incorrect format and therefore the error. So we're having that resolved.
In the meantime, we did it manually till the end of the year.
Okay.
For all the stuff.
There is one other issue that I want to bring to your attention, and that is the duplicate services. So we went over the original data, and it seems that the duplicate services, they're actually each individual services. They're not duplicates. The problem is that they're being truncated, so you're not seeing the end of them. And some of them have times like 90 minutes, 60 minutes, 30 minutes, things like that. And because of that, you've got the same, I'll just make it up. Let's say European facial, 90, European facial, 30, European facial, 60. And so you're only seeing European facial 3 times, let's say. I'm just making this up, as I said. But so they look like they are actually the same service repeated over and over again when they're not. They're different services. So what we need to do is have those truncated from the front instead of from the back so that you can get those differences, see that they're actually different services. Now, we can either expand it or we can truncate it from the front, either way. But the important thing to note here is that we can do that and then take your current data from the system and then upload it again. So we could, put your data back in there. Unless you've actually stopped using shortcuts altogether and you're now using Transcend, then that might create a problem because the changes that you've made in Transcend would be lost. But if you, because we go back to where we were with the old shortcuts. But if you're still using shortcuts while you're learning Transcend, then we can take your current data from shortcuts and put it back in there with that expanded field so that you can see that they're all actually different services. So it's up to you. You guys just let us know. You can think about that and send me an email and let us know how you want to do that. Or you can just do them manually. You can just, abbreviate them a little bit so that you can see that each one of them is a little bit different and that they're actually different services. And so they're abbreviated in a way that makes sense. You can certainly do that for each one of them manually. So you don't have to go through the process of re-inputting the data from scratch. Okay.
Matt, what we saw yesterday, like there was a service like Kleuren, and that's just one service. It doesn't have the difference in timing.
And that's been there more than once?
Yes, but like 4 times. Can I take it out manually?
Yeah, absolutely. They can be removed manually. Absolutely. One of the things, though, that we would want to do is find out why they're coming in 3 or 4 times, like you said. We would need to look at that old data. What's the name of that actual service? And I'll have them look at that and find out why it came over 4 times.
Okay. I'll email you a list from all the services that, like Foley, half or something, and that was on it also 4 times.
Okay, and what was that name again? The actual name of the service?
I think Foley half.
Foley.
Otherwise, I'll mail you a list with the things.
Okay, that would. You know what? That would be better. That would be great. So I'm not. That's perfect. Go ahead and email me that, and we'll get on that. Okay, so let's talk about going through the process of closing the drawer. So the first thing we need to do when we're in the drawer, of course, we're processing sales. Let me just process a sale here. I've already have a few that have been processed from this morning, but I'm just going to grab anything here. We'll do a blow dry and curl with Christian here, and we'll accept payment. We'll accept that in cash. Okay, so at the end of the day, we've already processed all of our transactions, and now it's time to close our drawer. So the business is closed, we're about to turn out the lights and leave for the day, so we're going to close our drawer, and we do that by going to Register, and then from Register, we're going to select Close. And that brings up our closing wizard. Now, the very first thing it's asking is to make sure that the paid-ins and paid-outs, if any, have been done before you go through the process of closing. Again, I say if any, and that's because you may not have needed to do any paid-ins or paid-outs that day. But if you have done any of them, they had to have been done properly, or you have to go in them and do them now. So we need to understand what is a paid in and a paid out. For instance, let's say that the boss comes up to the front desk and says, give me 20 out of the drawer because I'm going to go buy coffee for our morning meeting. So now this is the boss, and so the front desk person is saying, okay, so they do a no sale, and they pop open the drawer and they take the 20 out and they hand it to the boss. Well, if that is not recorded, then at the end of the day, when you close, your drawer is going to be $20 short because you don't have a record of why that 20 left the drawer. So when you do your count, it won't match up to your drawer. You'll say, okay, I should have this much in, but I'm actually $20 light. So that's a problem. Same thing goes with a paid in. If the boss came over and handed the front desk $20 and said, stick that in the drawer because I took it out of the drawer, last week or whatever. Well, if I don't have a record of why that $20 was in, then my drawer is going to be $20 over. So that's what paid ins and paid outs are. So it's really very simple. Again, if you didn't have anything like that in the day, then don't worry about it. You can just skip that. But if you did, we go to register, and here we have paid outs and paid ins. So if I select paid outs, I could do something like boss for coffee and 20. So then I can post this, or I can post and open the drawer. But by doing either of those things, I've now created a record of why that $20 left the drawer. And so now my drawer won't be off. Same thing goes with the paid in. It works the same way. So if the boss handed me $20 and put it into the drawer, then I could put in the amount and do the same thing, post and open, and exit.
And Matt,
now,
can you also have a paid in on the name of a customer, like a prepay for service?
No, I mean, if it's going to be on the name of a customer, you would be doing it at either the time of the transaction, or you would create another transaction under their name. So you would pull up whoever that customer is and then do the transaction.
Yeah, but
even if that go ahead.
You can do a prepay for service?
Oh yes, absolutely. You could do something like a deposit where we go to register, on account, and then we can do an on account payment. Now this is going to be under the name of an of a client. So whoever the client is, and you can say the amount that they paid and how they paid you. And that will create a transaction for that. But yes, that would be like for a deposit. Somebody is prepaying. Yes. Then when you're at the point of sale, if somebody actually did do that, let's go ahead and just pull up a service here. We'll do an anti-curl with blow dry. Then you would be able to use this field, which is on account, and this would take it off of their deposit. The on-account payment would allow you to take monies off of what they have prepaid, and what they have prepaid would show up here. So if they had like 500 in there for prepayment, then it would show that you owe them 500, and when you go to payment and you accept on account for 150, the next time you pulled her up, it would show that she has 350 on account.
Okay, yes.
So that's a little bit different. So now we're going to go through the process of closing. We've done our paid ins and our paid outs, if any. So register, close, and now we can continue. And the next thing it asks us is for the register float. So this is saying this is how much money we're leaving in the drawer for tomorrow. Okay? So you're going to take the money out of the drawer and leave a certain amount in. Whatever amount that you're leaving in becomes your float. Then we accept that, and now we have our deposit. We can create a deposit receipt or not. It's up to you. We can put in a deposit number if we have deposit slips for our bank. We take the money out of the drawer, checks, the credit cards are represented as well, and of course the cash. And we have our total deposit amount. Now this total deposit amount is going to be less than the money that was actually in the drawer. Because remember, you're leaving a certain amount of money in the drawer for the following day. If you're not leaving any money in, if your float is 0, then your total deposit will be the total amount that was in your drawer. And accept. And that takes us now to our actual closing register report. So we have what our register began at, what our receipts were for that day, what our total deposits will be, and then our expected final. So this is where our day started, and this is what we're leaving. So everything that came in today is now going to be a deposit. This is what is being left in the drawer as the float, and our over short will show us whether or not we have too much or too little. And in this case, we're good. Then our sales receipts shows us the money that actually came in that day. This much in cash, this much in checks, this much in credit cards, and our totals. Any voids that were done, and any amounts that those were applied to. We even have the tips broken out, etc. Then we have our deposits. The amount in cash, check, and credit cards, which is going to the bank. And then the sales breakdown, which is different than the sales receipts. The sales breakdown basically tells you the money that you brought in for selling services or retail or merchandise returns. That money might have gone out, so this might be a negative amount. What was sold in gift certificates here, but over here, this would be what was used in gift certificates, because these are the receipts and this is the sales breakdown. So these numbers could be very, very different, even though you see the same thing, gift certificates and gift certificates. This gift certificates is what gift certificates were used, the value that was used that day, and this is what gift certificates were sold that day. So they could be very, very different numbers. So once you have this, you can print this out or you can accept it. Whichever one you do is going to lock this in. Whether you print it or accept it, they're both going to work as an accept. And so accept, are you sure? Yes, and I'm done. Now, if I wanted to at any time, I could view previous closings. View prior closings. This is today's closing. I could also go to yesterday's closing. I could go to the day before that's closing, etc. And I can print those out as well, but those are my previous closings. Now, if my drawer has closed, I'm done. I don't need to do anything else. In the following morning, when I open my drawer, it's ready to go because I've crossed over the midnight timeline. However, if I'm on the same day, and for whatever reason I needed to do something else, it's going to tell me, hey, the drawer's already been closed. Do I want to reopen it? So I can reopen it again so that I can start doing more transactions if I had closed it and then realized that there were things I hadn't processed, or maybe there were still people in that were just finishing and I had already closed. Oops. So I can go ahead and reopen the drawer, and then I have to go through the process of closing that drawer again after I brought in whatever the new transactions are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so that's what you do, for instance, if you have another shift or something.
Okay, yeah, and you can actually set up different drawers as well if you wanted to. So you could actually have, maybe you had two computers up at the front,
yeah,
both with their own separate drawers.
Yes.
So you could actually have one running on register 1 and one running on register 2. And if you were doing that, they would be closed separately. So you would close register 1, you can close register 2, and those could be completely different. If you had different shifts, somebody could close and take the money out for their shift, leaving only 50 in, and then somebody could come in and reopen the drawer with that same 50 now that they're starting at, because the money has already been removed, and then they go through that process of going again. And so yes, you can certainly have multiple shifts as well.
Okay, and then at the end of the day, all the shifts come together?
That's right. You can either look at your closing for register 1 and your closing for register 2, or you could look at a closing for combined registers. And so, for instance, in our reporting, we go to sales, and we go to, it's been a little while since I've done this, but I think it's transactions. And so here's my consolidated closing report. And I can do this for a single day, or I can do it for a date range. And this is going to consolidate all of my closings. Okay, let me go ahead and exit out of that. Okay, so we talked a little bit about closing the drawer. Now what I want to do is I want to go through the process of doing sales and the different things that you can do. So we're going to talk about, go ahead.
Yeah. When you close the drawer and you fill in the amount of cash, is it also possible to specify how that total amount is made up? How many coins? How many notes, etc. Is that possible?
Well, in the closing, no, because it's just giving you totals. However, at any time, you can do what's called a cash count. So I could go to register and I can go to cash count. And this is where I can put in things like my number of pennies, my number of nickels, my number of dimes, my number of quarters, half dollars, singles, fives, tens, 20s, 50s, and hundreds. And these can be changed as well. You could put a different label in. If you don't want to use the term pennies, you could put in a different term, as long as the math is the same.
Yeah.
So for instance, 100 of these equal $1. 20 of these equal $1. 10 of these equal $1. As long as the math is the same, it doesn't matter what the title is. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So yes, you can do a cash count at any time and put in the actual coins and bills, etc., to give you your total. And then that total, of course, is going to be what your drawer says it actually has in it at the time.
And changing the name is just a right click on the name?
Yeah. If let's go ahead and do that again. If I go to register and I go to my cash count. So for instance, let's say I want to change pennies to, well, I don't know. I'm going to just call it anything. So I'll say anything.
A penny is
so I put in my new label, and now that's going to be my new label.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and for us the pennies 1
cent.
1 cent. Nickels is what, 20? 10?
That's right. As long as the math is right, then yes, that'll work.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay. So let's go through the process of actually doing a sale. First, let's do it with an appointment. So let me just very quickly book an appointment here for somebody. It doesn't matter who. Let me just grab Doreen here. Choose a service. I'll go with a massage. And we'll do a hot stone 60 with Anna at 10 o'clock. And my black stones. Okay, so I'm booked. I've got her booked with Anna in the elixir room with the black stones. Now, one of the things that I can do, I don't have to do it from the appointment book, but I can. I can right-click on an appointment and go to check out. Now, in this case, it's not going to really work because I've already closed my drawer. So watch what happens. I hit check out. The drawer has been closed. Would you like to reopen it? Yeah, I would. Okay, so now my register is open. If my drawer had already been closed, it wouldn't have said that. It would have just popped this open. So now my register is open, and I've got Doreen saw Anna for a hot stone 60 for $60, and perhaps I'm ready to go. Or maybe she was upsold, so now I can go to service and say she also saw Jessica and got a European facial. So I add that to the ticket. Now maybe I'm ready to accept payment. Or maybe I need to add some retail because she brought a bottle up. If I have a barcode scanner, I can scan the product, or I can type in the SKU number, or I can click on retail and look the product up by name. So for instance, if I was going to do a just an all-in-one shampoo, I know that that is SKU number 20. So I can just put in 20 and hit enter, and it'll say who's selling it, say Matthew. So Doreen was sold by Matthew, the just an all-in-one shampoo, $21, and I'm ready to go. Now I'm going to clear that. I'm going to remove that item. So I highlighted it and I pressed remove item. You can do that to remove anything on the ticket. Now, maybe I don't know the SKU number, or maybe I don't have a barcode scanner. So I click on retail, and I can look that product up by name. So I hit search, and I can type in a word or a portion of a word. And everything that has that in its name will appear. So I can find the product that I was looking for. And there it is. There's my Just an All-in-One shampoo. I can hit more and add more product. I can change the quantity. I can change who made the sale as well. Let's say Pamela. So now I've got my product sold by Pamela, and that's the only product they're buying, so I hit last, and now we're ready to go again. Doreen was sold by Pamela, the Just an All-in-One shampoo for $21, and I'm ready to go. If I have any taxes associated with it, they would have shown here. So now what I've done is I've got my ticket, I've got my product, and I can now go to payment. Of course, I can sell gift certificates, memberships. I can add gratuity as well. Now, that's another common thing. I don't know if you guys do tips there very much. I know that tips in Europe can be very different than tips here in the United States. But let's say that we did want to do a tip. So I hit gratuity, and I can put in a tip amount for Jessica and accept that, and then hit gratuity again and put a tip amount for Anna and accept that. Or I can just do a percentage, like 15%, by hitting this button, apply a percentage, and it will distribute it and do the math for me. So Anna's going to get $9, and Jessica's going to get $11.25. So now I go to payment, and I can accept payment in a myriad of different methods. Cash, check, and put in my check number, or credit card, process credit cards directly through the system, or in your case, it would look like this, and you're going to process your credit card through your separate terminal outside of the software, and you're going to choose what type of card it was. This way your reporting is accurate. Even though you're not actually processing directly through the software, you're still keeping a record of it in the software. Or you could accept a gift certificate or gift card. If they have a gift certificate that you sold through the software, you can type the number in here. Or if they have a gift card that you sold through the software, you can swipe the card at this point. Also, you can accept payment as a series. And what does that mean? Well, let's say that somebody owns a series of 5 European facials. If they did, then it would be listed here. And it might say 5 of 5 remaining. And when they use one, it would then say 4 of 5 remaining the next time they came in, 3 of 5 remaining, 2 of 5 remaining, until they use them up. So they can actually buy a series, basically like a prepayment for services. They buy a series of 5 facials for a discount, and then they can use that series to get that service for free because they've already prepaid for it. Then, of course, we have on account, which we just described. If they have a deposit with you, then you can take that money off of their deposit. If she only had $100 deposited with you, but her amount was $176, you wouldn't take the full amount. Remember, the amount that they have is going to show right here. And so you would be able to take 100 here, and then she'll owe you $76.25. But the 100 would come off of what she already has on account with you. If you're part of a hotel or resort, you can charge directly to the room. With this one, you can accept a traveler's check instead of a personal check. It works the same way. You simply put in the check number. The difference is in your closing report, it will separate them. And then we also have other, which allows you to create your own unique methods of payment. So you could have like a miscellaneous or a comp or a barter. Barter is like trade. So maybe the electrician did your wiring, and so you gave this to his wife for free. So that would be, you might put in the reference, electrician's did wiring, or electrician's wife, or something like that. That way you have a record that this happened, even though you're not taking any actual money for it. And your staff can still get their commissions, etc. And there's still going to be a history in Doreen's history showing all of the services or products that she bought, etc. So it's all still there. You just didn't bring any actual money in for it, but there's still a record of it. And then finally, we have rewards points, which we're really not going to talk about in this class. You can learn about that later. But what this is, kind of like airline miles, your customer can earn points for getting services from you or products from you or giving you referrals. Then they can use those points to get discounts or freebies in your system. So you get to set up how much each one of your services is valued for how many points they get for buying that service or product. And then you can also set up how many points those services and products cost. So maybe a service earns you 100 points, but it costs 1,000 points. So you can do that as well. And like I said, that's another class. So let's go ahead and say that she's going to give me $120 in cash, but she still owes me $56.25 now. And I'm going to take the final $56.25 in credit card, we'll say Visa, and accept. Now we can go ahead and process the transaction. If she's getting a receipt, this must be blue. If you don't care to give her a receipt, then it can be gray. And then we accept it, and it's done. So let's take a look. Let's go into her history. in her history, we see all of the services that she's ever gotten and all of the product that she's ever purchased. So here is the transaction on October 6th. She saw Anna, she saw Jessica, she got a Hot Stone 60 and a European facial. She was also sold by Pamela the Just an All-in-One shampoo. I can highlight any of these and press View Transaction and see everything that happened on that transaction, including the gratuities and how she paid, with cash and with Visa. And that's it. That's the point of sale. You can, now there's a lot more to it, of course. You can do refunds. You can apply transaction notes. You can print out a receipt that's already been emailed or email a receipt that's already been printed. You can sell memberships. You can sell gift certificates. You can sell series. So all of that can be done in the process of the point of sale. You can pull up a customer that's already in your database, or you can add a brand new customer, or you can even do what's called a one-time, like a child or something like that. You don't care what their information is, but you still need to process the sale. To apply a discount, so let's go ahead and pull up Marcelo here. I've got a little note there for him. And he saw Christian, and he got a blow dry and curl. I can then go to discounts. Well, I have to select what I'm discounting because this ticket might have had a lot of things on it. So I select what I'm discounting and press discounts. And so now I can put in a discount by percentage or a discount by dollar amount. I can also have it set up to accept coupons, and I can use those as well. Any questions on anything that we've talked about today?
And can you put in some different discount reasons? Like
yes,
a student's discount or employee discount?
Like preset discounts?
Yes, I've got those. Let me go back to my preferences here, and I'm going to say under my discounts that I'm going to enter a code on the discount. So let's take a look at what something like that. Now I've got a whole bunch already made. You would need to make your own, of course, but let's go ahead and do it. Let's pull up a customer here and say that she saw Christian and she got a blow dry and curl. And now I'm going to highlight this. Oh, look, she has an on-account balance of $245.15. She owes me that much money. Good to know. All right, so I'm going to highlight this and I'm going to go to discounts. So now I can choose one of my coupon codes. I've got all of my different promos that I've created already. I could even do like look an employee discount or something like that I've already pre-created, or I could do a new customer discount, whatever I've got in. I even have things like an owner's discount, which is like, you know, a comp. Here we go, a manager's comp. So with my manager's comp, it's 100%. So it brings it down to 0. So I've discounted it by that. So that's my manager's complimentary. And remove that item. Highlight that again, go back to discounts. And let's take a look and see some of the others that we've got here. You know, I could create like an employee discount or something like that. Absolutely.
Because where do you create it?
On the fly. Okay, so let's talk about that. We'll go to Setup, Configuration, Sales Register. Remember, I'm recording this, so you can always view it later. Setup, Configuration, Sales Register, and I'm going to go to Coupon Codes. And now I'm going to give it a code, like ED here, and then my description is going to be Employee Discount. And so what is the employee discount? Is it a dollar amount or is it a percentage? Let's say it's a percentage, and I'm going to say that it is 20% off. If I check this, it will discount everything on the ticket. If this is gray, then I have to highlight each piece that's going to be discounted. If I have this, then this will not affect the commission of the person making the sale. But if I have this, then it will affect the commission. So I'm going to go ahead and accept this, and done. So let's take a look. Now I've got my ticket here, and I'm going to apply a discount. And I'm going to apply my employee discount. There it is now, because I just created it, and it's 20%. So they're getting $10 off. So I just created a discount code, and I'm able to apply it to any part of the ticket. And if there were more things on this ticket, I could have chosen to apply it to everything on the ticket, 20% off everything, or just on the items that I've highlighted. Okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Are there any other questions before I end the class? And Caroline, you said that you're going to email me the list of the services that are duplicated, and our guys will, on this end, look at the old data that was brought over to find out why they've come in more than once.
Yes, I will
But
do
I'm
that
sorry,
for sure.
go ahead. Thank
Yeah,
you.
if you end the day, can they see if they have any differences in the count they made and what the computer think it should be?
Well, that's exactly what the closing is going to do for you. So when you do your closing, so this is today's closing that we did earlier, and as you can see now, now we have an overshort because we brought in more money on the same day, but we haven't done a new deposit. But it doesn't matter. The point is that at any time when you go through your closing, it's going to show you what it believes you have in the system. And you're going to do your count. And if they don't match, you know you've got a problem. And now at any time, you can go back and view your transactions. You can view your transactions for the entire day and just go through them and see what those transactions are and maybe what went wrong. And if anything did go wrong, like this one here, I show that they paid $850 in cash. In fact, if I highlight any of that or anything like that, I can modify this transaction as well, because I see I gave them $300 back. It was $550, but they paid $850, so they got $300 back. I can modify that transaction. So this is what it was. The price was $550. Great. Let's go to the next part of it. This was the cash payment. The price $550 again. Go to my change of $300. Okay, we've got a problem. So now I'm going to go in here and maybe change this to 0. And I can even change how it was brought in, cash, check, credit card, whatever it may be. So notice I've got this $300 cash payment that went over the price of my, and then I have negative $300. This is the money I gave back to them.
Yes.
So I could change them both to 0 if I want and save them. So that's going to modify a transaction. So I can fix a transaction if I find an error in it. Or if something came in that I hadn't made a record of. You know, somebody paid me the money, I stuck it in the drawer, and I was going to go and close them out really quick, but somebody else came up with the phone ringing, or the boss came over to talk to me, and I moved on, but I had brought their money in. So at the end of the day, I'm over. And I'm like, oh, I need to go back. I can go back, get rid of my previous closing, do that transaction for that money, and then close again.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, and I have one more question. Because at the beginning, not about the class, but at the beginning of the class, you explained what the different options were for the for getting rid of the error. Could you would you mind emailing them to us just very briefly, because you spoke very fast and
sure, of course. Well, we do have a recording of it, of course, and also we have a video that goes over modifying a transaction in detail. And all it talks about is just that, modifying a transaction. So it's not like a class like this.
It wasn't about modifying the transaction. It was about what you said in the beginning about either putting back the data, about the database. What you said, because about the appointments which seemed double in the system. You talked about either they could take out the database.
The services.
I see what you're saying. So yeah, your shortcuts data.
Yeah.
So we can either redo that with the expanded service names.
Yeah.
Or you can manually change the names, or we can truncate without expanding it. We can actually truncate them so that you can see the end of them, so that you can see how they're different. 3 different ways that it can be done. That's entirely up to you.
Okay. Yeah, because we're still thinking about that. Because
certainly, of course.
Yeah, because if they would put back the shortcuts data with the
Are you still using shortcuts while you're learning Transcend, or have you?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're still using it, and we wanted to start using Transcend at around 17th of October, but
Okay.
we're still struggling with the appointments, because what would happen if they would set the shortcuts data back with the added field? Would then the appointments just be
Yes.
all right, or?
Ja, maar alles wat.
Well, no, we would get rid of all of your current data in Transcend, and we would bring it over from shortcuts again. And so then you would have your appointments that you already have in shortcuts. Those would come over, and of course they would now have the proper fields.
Yeah, but then everything we did on the staff and products, everything would be gone again.
That would be lost. That's right.
Yeah.
So we may just want to do it where we would manually change it in the Transcend software. But we would still need to know what the different names are of those so that we can manually do it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Then there, of course, Caroline's going to send a
That's right.
send an email. Okay. Yeah. And one more question. I didn't receive the training which was recorded last time. I think no one of us did. Perhaps something went wrong with the email. Or did you get it? The trainings link.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can forward it to you.
Sorry. Oh yes, if you would, that would be great.
Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely. Were there any other questions before I let you go?
Not at the moment. Thank you, Matt. Otherwise, we mail you.
I'll be looking forward to your email. I'll be looking for it.
Oh, can we make another appointment? Yeah, can we make another appointment with you?
Oh, of course. Absolutely. I mean, if you already know when, then we can go ahead and schedule it. If not, you can email me.
Wednesday?
Let me take a look here. Hang on.
Oh, zij van donderdag.
That calendar.
Thursday, Matt.
Next week, Thursday.
Let's take a look here.
As early as possible, please.
Thursday, October 12th. The earliest we would be able to do would be 5:15 your time.
Okay, we do that.
Okay.
12.
That.
Oh.
Okay, I've got you scheduled for Thursday, October 12th at 5:15 p.m. your time.
Okay, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Have a wonderful. I'm sorry.
I'll send you an email if there's anything in between.
And I'll be looking for it.
Okay.
You've got it. Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
My pleasure. Have a great day, guys.
You too. Bye-bye.